Hi everyone, it's Tanya here back with another speed build. Today it's of this magician study in the attic inspired by Narnia, the book Magician's Nephew. And if you haven't seen my other speed build, I created the whole villager neighborhood but just didn't show this specific part. So I wanted to show you how it went from the very beginning, but if you already saw that villager neighborhood speed build, you can jump to this timestamp in the description below to where I start decorating the actual study. But just in case you hadn't seen it, then this is the clip. So I started out with terraforming, and it's a pretty simple just block of land, and I had originally rounded the corners, but you'll see later on that that was then just indented in. So yeah, just a big block, and then this is me at the end because you don't want to watch me just terraform for half an hour a solid block. It's just not very exciting. And what you see on the ground, the dirt paths, is where I wanted to put the houses. So then fast forward to the time when I placed the houses, you'll see all of them are in a row. And then I started laying out these simple panels that are designed to look like the house fronts. So I wanted this all along the bottom and the top, just to create the illusion that it's a much bigger building with maybe the villager house as the front, and then this is an extension. Also in London, you also often have terraced housing where the houses are all in a long row and they're stuck together, which is how it would work in Magician's Nephew, the book, because they crawl through the houses, through the attics. But it doesn't really work with the spacing in Animal Crossing, so I decided to give them a little bit more room. So yeah, just laying out more of these simple panels up above and down below. I'll just take you to later on to where I'm laying out some of the last ones, just so you don't have to watch it all. And then that's just how the house would look roughly on its own. And then I laid out the flooring of the so-called attic, or the magician's study. I realized then that I had to remove some of the simple panels that I already laid out just to make space. But that was easy enough to remedy and just place them back in their original spot. And I went with the wood in-game path, just because I thought that looked quite attic-y, but also would fit the study feeling quite well. And then next was laying out the stalls, which are kind of designed to make it look like roofing. I did that across all of the houses along the row. You'll see that over to the right. And yeah, I think it's a really cool design code. I've seen it used in kind of like more Japanese style houses or urban spaces, but also I think it works quite well in this like London house feeling, like this kind of darker slate colored roof tile. So yeah, I just did that all along the front and one on the side. I haven't done it for, you'll see I didn't put it up in the very back because I wanted that area covered by bookcases, and I just didn't think you wouldn't be able to see the stalls anyways, and I thought it'd be a bit of a waste of 12 wood each. So yeah, I just have it covering up the front over here. So with that done, then it's time to start decorating. So I first laid out some of the bookcases. I wanted it almost to wrap around most of the room. It's in kind of the description from the book where the narrator, when Diggory and Polly stumble upon this magician's study. And then I also placed this simple panel with this it's kind of like a drawer design. I think it would fit really well in any like alchemist space, or I've seen it used a lot in post offices. I also used it in my ticket office in my train station, but I think it just looks cool, like maybe you've just got different little hidden items everywhere. And then I also use a simple panel code with these potions or bottles, however you want to interpret them. I felt that also fit the magician's vibe. And then just continuing along with all the bookcases, kind of layered the panels a little bit just to give it a little bit more dimension. I've seen some people create libraries that are just incredible, like multi-layered. I didn't really have the space for it, but it's just, yeah, really amazing what people come up with and how they use terraforming to kind of manipulate the space with like a single room design or area design, if you will. So yeah, so that was the last bookcase, and with that space kind of mapped out, then I could fill in the rest of the area, and I just roughly worked left to right because yeah, I could just spacing wise kind of made sense. So first I put out some lighting with the floor lamp because I like to make sure places look decent at night as well. So I want a good amount of light scattered around the room or the space. And then next I put down this, I think it's the Imperial chest. So next I put out this Imperial chest. It's black in color, but I just wanted a bit more variety in the color tones. Like I know the kind of standard design tip is to keep everything in the same wood tone, but I just thought it looked a little bit more realistic having some black and some brown items. People don't always coordinate super well in life. So yeah, and then put this little lab experiment set, like maybe for potion making. And then some other kind of magical items like this fortune teller set. Even if he's not really a fortune teller, like the kind of vibe that it gives with the light, like the candles and the crystal ball and things like that. Just thought the magician would be into that. And then also put this Newton's cradle, which is more of a scientist item, but also again I thought kind of fit the magician's approach to things. In line with that, I put out this skeleton. He seems like the kind of creepy guy who would experiment on skeletons or bones. And I also thought it was a fun little nod to his character because he's described as a really tall, wiry, old man, so maybe that's just his future. And then I put out this plasma ball, which just looks a bit, electric and cool, and then a globe. And then the last thing I think was this telescope, because I thought he'd also look to the stars for inspiration. And then put out this chair for him to sit on. So in the book it's described as when Polly and Diggory get into the room, they almost think it's empty, and that there's this high-backed chair facing the fireplace, but over time it turns around, and then there's a guy, the magician, sitting in there quite creepily. So yeah, just wanted to create that sense with this chair. I fiddled around with it, with the placement a little bit, and I also really struggle with turning things. Like I end up pushing things back and forth, so that's why this bit just took a wee bit of time, and then finally got it in the right spot. Alright, next was putting out this table between the entrance of the room and the magician himself, with some books and some other kind of writing implements. Again, this is something referenced in the book where they talk about a table full of stacks and stacks of books and reading material and writing material everywhere, as well as a tray with rings. So there were yellow rings and green rings, and basically one ring would take you away from the world, and one ring would take you back to a world. So I've got this green ring box here and a white one. There wasn't an in-game yellow box, so that's how that happened. Now with all that laid out, I then realized that I wanted to put some custom codes on the ground. So I then had to tear all of this back down. Luckily, just had a memory of where things went and then laid out some custom codes. I added a bit of this kind of cobblestone flooring because I just thought it looked, made it look a bit patchy, like an attic wouldn't sometimes has like weird flooring all over the place, and just added a bit of dimension, and I thought matched the fireplace quite well. And then I'm just taking you fast forwarding through to where that was all fixed. You don't need to see me lay the same items twice. And then to this antique table area, I wanted to put down a carpet, just for that library feeling. I thought it would look, again, give it a little bit more dimension and feel a bit more authentic. So just laid out this code with the tassels, and then put those items back on it. So you'll notice that, especially with this antique table, I lay things on both sides, and it's just because you can't reach both sides from one direction. So first I had to lay out from the top, and then the bottom, the rings. And yeah, just open them up to make sure you know they're rings, and then tuck to the table over there. And then back to new item design. So I wanted to fill it out with some more books. So put down another stack of books, this time in a different customized colorway, just for a bit of variety. And then worked on this kind of bottom area. So I put out a chalkboard. Seemed like the kind of thing that he might use to write out his ideas. And then also this iron shelf, just for all the supplies and items and things like that. And added a candle, just as I mentioned, I like to scatter a bit of lighting all around. And then added this antique bureau, another writing spot. He just strikes me as someone who's a bit chaotic and would need multiple places to jot down his different ideas, so this is just another place for him. I also think the antique bureau is just such a cool item. Like, I love how it opens up to have that little writing desk bit. And then put out this little velvet stool. I thought it kind of matched the warm tones, and it also felt a bit antique and a bit magical. Put a little clock over there, and then a barrel with a mage's hat on top, just to really hit home that this is home of a wizard, or a magician, sorry. And then the last touch was just laying out some scattered papers. Maybe they're different ideas or recipes, things like that. So yeah, so that was the last of the items I put down. This was a super short speed build compared to my last villager neighborhood where I decorated like 10 areas in one video. But I hope this gave you some ideas for like a library or a magician's area. I had a lot of fun recreating this little nook from the book, and I'll also insert a little clip from some of the illustrations that people use of this from the book. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Bye guys.